to be honest with you. If you guys got questions, I'm going to try to hit on them in the chat and glance back and forth. But you guys know how difficult it is to try to put together a show and read the chat at the same time. I know Monster Aggressor had one right off the bat here. Not really a question, but a comment. It said, yo, Clayton, we need to hit it out of the park this draft as if we are competing this bad enough. Our division is stacked. We play some good teams this season. Yeah, listen, the NFC North is going to be stacked, I think, for a little while. Now, we'll see what happens with J.J. McCarthy. You know, everybody's just kind of assuming they're going to pick up right where they left off last year, they being the Vikings, obviously, without Sam Darnold. And, you know, I can understand both sides of the coin there when it comes to Sam Darnold because he's played like crap in other places. He played really good last year, and now they no longer have him. So, got a first-year starting quarterback, man. Really a rookie quarterback. He has not seen any official regular season game time. I'm almost positive, right? So, you know, that's kind of up in the air. You got the Detroit Lions who lost all those coordinators, right? Lost both their offensive and defensive coordinator. So we're going to see just how good, you know, their head coach, Dan Campbell, actually is. And, of course, you got Ben Johnson jumping ship from Detroit and going to Chicago. And we'll see how that comes together. I'll tell you what I'm really eager to see this year. Everywhere Caleb Williams has gone, he's held on to the football too long. You know, he took a bunch of sacks at USC, took a bunch of sacks in Chicago. They're trying to bolster the line. And I think that's the right way to go, right, is to build up that offensive line in front of Caleb Williams. Now, here's the problem. If you got a sack issue again this year, probably Caleb, right? And one thing that Greg Cosell has taught me just listening to all of his different podcasts and interviews he's done is typically almost always, I mean, this isn't just like, yeah, more often than not, almost always, when a quarterback takes a bunch of sacks in college, they end up taking a bunch of sacks in the pros. So keep that in mind. And with that being said, I look at it a little bit different. You know, I look at the Packers just need to take care of business this year. Really, it has nothing to do with the divisional opponents, in my opinion. You got to take it one game at a time. You know, the Packers won 11 games last year, made the playoffs, right? One of the hotter younger teams, right, in the league, in my opinion. So, you know, you get into this whole caught up in, well, we need to win the North. We need to win the North. Absolutely. That's where it starts. You want to win the North. But the goal is to go 1-0 every week, right? And the old, you know, Mike McCarthy and other head coaches over the years have always said you want to go 3-1 each quarter of the season. Now, obviously, there's an odd game added in there with there being whatever it is now, 17 games. So, you know, yeah, you'd like to win that 17th game as well, but you go 3-1 each quarter, you're going to look up at the end of the season and you're in the playoffs, right? The old adage of win 10 and you're in, now it kind of feels like probably 11 maybe is what you want to shoot for just to be safe. And Packers hitting that 11 mark last year, being the youngest team in the league. So I say all that because I guess I just look at it a little bit different. I don't look at it like you got to win the division. I look at it like you need to win as many ball games as you can. And if you're the wild card going in, so be it, right? The goal is to qualify for the playoffs and go out there and try to take care of business. So I look at that a little bit different, I think, than most Packer fans, honestly, or most NFL fans in general. Pointer Doug said, would you think that Malik would be on the block to move up in the draft? Quarterbacks in the draft seem weak, so would there be the best value we can get for him? The Malik Willis thing's interesting to me. I guess you could kind of group it the same way you would with the whole Jair Alexander situation. And what I mean by that is with Jair, you know, you're going to have another shot to trade him if indeed they have decided, as the reports say, that they've pretty much already decided they're moving on. You're going to have another shot to trade him for those teams that aren't able to secure a good enough cornerback in the draft, right? So immediately following the draft or on draft night, let's say a team goes in and they say, man, we need a starting corner. And they come out of the first two rounds and go, dang, the board didn't fall the way we needed to. Let's go give our third-round pick for Jair Alexander. I think the Packers would absolutely accept that. I think they probably would accept a third-round pick. You get into the fifth and sixth round, I think that's where they struggle. Now, that may change on draft night. If they get to the sixth round and they're like, okay, obviously people don't see as much value in Jair as we thought. Now we're willing to take a sixth-round pick. That's different. But I think the peak of his value is going to be throughout the draft as these teams see their best cornerbacks come off the board and not to their team, if that makes sense. So in terms of Malik Willis, I kind of look at it the same way. You know, I don't see Malik Willis as a quarterback that teams across the league are looking at going, we would rather have Malik Willis over any quarterback that we got a third-round grade or higher on, right? So maybe there's a situation where a team goes, we didn't really feel that need, and let's say we see Malik Willis as worthy of a fifth-round pick, then maybe they ask the Packers about that. You guys know I've been pretty adamant about how I feel about Malik Willis. I want him on the team unless somebody will offer a second-round pick, and I don't see that happening. I think his value as a backup is way more than, a fourth-round pick or a sixth-round pick. I would much rather not have an extra fifth-round pick or whatever it is and have Malik Willis, a guy who proved last year that he can go out and win ball games if Jordan Love does get banged up. And I don't know. I just remember all the old days of being a Packer fan and always having to worry about, damn, what are we going to do if Aaron Rodgers goes down? The season's over, right? And now we find ourselves in this unique situation where if Aaron Rodgers does miss a game or two, or 6 games, you don't feel like the season's over. Malik Willis showed, and kudos to Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur has shown, hey, I can build a game plan, a run-heavy game plan around this backup quarterback. So that's kind of how I see it. Now, again, back to your question, would you think that Malik would be on the block to move up in the draft? I think just about everybody's on the block, to be honest with you. If a team comes calling for a player, we've seen it with Rasul Douglas, right? I disagreed with the Rasul Douglas trade at the time, and I kind of still do, simply because, and that's just remove the fact of who we drafted there. I can't remember who it was we drafted. For some reason, I want to say Tucker Kraft comes to mind, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But that third-round pick, what came down to there was Goody planned on keeping him, and then someone offered a third-round pick. The Bills did, and it's like, man, that's too good to pass up, right? So there may come a point with Malik where, I don't know, the value is just going to be too good to pass up on, if that makes sense. So no, don't worry about it. Pointer Doug says, sorry, Clayton, my English isn't very goodly, buddy. My reading skills suck. So we're on the same page there. It's all good, man. All good. All right. So I think we got pretty much everything in there for the most part.